Excellent. So one of the other issues that you became famous for was during the 2000 election, and that's actually where I first met you. I was moving to Texas, and I remember I was glued to the television during the recount with the hanging chads and the butterfly ballots. And you actually have a distinction because you were a named plaintiff in the Butterfly Ballot Case. Could you just give us a little bit of background and just some things that we don't even, we as you know, that's kind of behind the scenes inside baseball on what happened with that case.
No, the secret scoop.
And I actually always love to quote your case, because it actually, your case is actually calls for a certain legal precedent procedurally, and I always love that case because I'm quoting my friend Prince's case.
Well, to begin with, they call the case, or people refer to it as the Butterfly Ballot or Gore v. Bush. The case was Andre Fladell versus Palm Beach County canvassing. The case that wound up in the Supreme Court was actually my case when I filed it at 8 o'clock in the morning, the day after the election. So yeah, I am the lead plaintiff that stopped the presidential election at that time. But let me tell you why, so you understand, because it was not about Democrats or Republicans. It had nothing to do with it. In the state of Florida, in the statute, in capital letters, it says that the party of the governor must be the first punch hole and must be the first candidate. So when every human being in this county or this state goes to vote, always today, the Republican has to be the first name. Must be, not maybe, not could be, not should be, must be the first name. And the party getting the second amount of votes for governor, which is the Democratic Party, had to be the second punch hole or marking. So when you go to vote for State House, when you go to vote for Senate, whatever you do, you may not realize it, but the Republican name is always first and the Democrat is always second. That's number one. That's statutory. Number two, the name must be on the left and the marking point, whether it be punched, must be on the right. Every time you vote by statute in capital letters in our statutes, not once, it explains it 5 different ways. The name must be on the left and the mark must be on the right. Those are statute requirements of a ballot. The people who are the oldest and the people who don't see that well and the people who don't pay attention, the one thing they know, they all vote all the time and they know the statute. If you hit the first hole, it's got to be a Republican and the second had to be a Democrat. On that one page, on that one ballot, in that one election, that statute was violated on both of those positions. The second hole was not the Democrat. The second hole was not on the right. The second hole was on the left coming from another page. So you say, well, why didn't they be more careful? Because I can vote when I'm blind just by touching those holes. I don't have to even read it, number one. Number two, I don't really work computers very well. So if you changed all the letters on a computer, it wouldn't matter to me. I can type at just the same rate. I look for the letter and I hit it. But if you know how to use a computer and you know how to type, then you don't look at the letters, you know where they are. So if I change the letters on your computer, you'd have a rough time typing, I wouldn't. Well, I vote all the time. I don't have a rough time voting. The people who vote just once every 2 years or twice every 2 years, they hunt and peck like I do on a computer, and they look to notice that there's 2 pages, the names came from both sides. It wouldn't have even occurred to me that was possible. In Century Village, there were 286 people who voted 16 times for Democrats on that ballot. And on the President of the United States voted for Pat Buchanan instead of Joe Lieberman for Vice President. So a unique process occurred in Palm Beach County, only in this county, only on that page, only in that election, because the statute was violated and the ballot was sent in a way they had never done before. People hit the second punch hole in every single thing they voted for that day. And on this one topic called president, it led them to the wrong punch hole. Thirdly, the directions and the instructions on how to perform the ballot were never changed. So when you got the instruction to the ballot walking in the poll, it said, hit the punch hole to the right of the name. There was no punch hole to the right of Pat Buchanan. The punch hole was to the left, but they never changed the instruction. On the basis of statutory violations, I filed a lawsuit saying that the ballot was non-compliant with Florida statute. That's it.
And as a result, what could you just walk through our listeners that aren't familiar with the occurrence and the end result of the case? Can you let us know what happened?
The Supreme Court ruled there was insufficient non-compliance for the remedy sought. What that means is, and I spoke to the justices afterwards who I know, that
is this the Florida Supreme Court or the U.S.
Yes.
Supreme Court?
This is started in Florida Supreme Court.
Okay.
What they said was that even though they agreed that there wasn't compliance with statute, the remedy of a revote was non-practical because the Constitution didn't provide for it, and they couldn't create a situation similar to the election. In other words, on another day, different people might have been available, the weather might be different, different candidates might have different money, that the circumstance of that election and the Constitution does not provide for a remedy. They said that there was insufficient non-compliance, accepting that the statute was violated, for the remedy sought, which means what we asked for just simply was not achievable. When the United States Supreme Court stops the recount at some point and declares a precedent, it's because in the end, the Supreme Courts on both levels decided that the remedy just simply didn't exist.
Okay, great.